In a world that never stops talking, what does it mean to choose silence? You scroll through your feed and it's a constant stream of faces, places, and moments. But you've probably noticed there are some people who are never in the picture. They watch, they listen, they absorb everything, but they almost never hit post. And if you're honest, you've probably wondered about them. Maybe you've even wondered about yourself. The easy answer is to call them shy or introverted. But that's a surface level observation. The real story unfolding behind their quiet screens is far more profound. For these individuals, their silence isn't a void. It's a boundary. It's a conscious decision about what parts of their world remain theirs alone. Our digital culture celebrates visibility. It rewards the constant broadcast of the self. Yet, those who resist this pull often possess a unique kind of clarity. They are the observers, the ones who process deeply before they feel the need to contribute. Research points to an intriguing pattern. People who share less online frequently exhibit greater levels of self-sufficiency and internal reflection. Their sense of value isn't forged in the furnace of public opinion. They aren't focused on presenting an identity. They are dedicated to the slow, quiet work of understanding one. And in an era of nonstop personal branding, that is a radical act. Silence is the armor of a self-owned mind. Let's be real. A lot of what we share isn't just communication. It's a carefully managed performance. It's a silent plea that whispers, see me, understand me, accept me. But when you step away from that cycle, a fundamental shift occurs. Your self-worth slowly untangles from the digital applause. You stop composing your life in captions. You begin to have experiences that are solely, completely for you. This is the core of the quiet rebellion. It's a search for the genuine in a landscape that often feels staged. It's not a rejection of technology, but a refusal to compress a complex life into a neat, consumable storyline. Because once you see how easily perception can be curated, you start to cherish what resists being posted. For many, this shift begins with a kind of digital fatigue. They shared and shared until one day it fell hollow. The pressure to top their last post, to maintain a certain aesthetic, became a weight. So they stepped off the stage. No grand farewell, just a gradual fading from the endless scroll. It's crucial to understand this. Their lack of posting is not a lack of feeling. If anything, it can signal a deeper intensity of feeling. They are protecting what is sacred to them. There's a psychological principle at play here, the need for personal sovereignty over our own experiences. When you share a memory online, it ceases to be just yours. It becomes communal property, open to analysis, critique, or worse, indifference. So those who don't post are often guarding the integrity of their inner world. They keep their most precious moments unedited and entirely their own. And perhaps that isn't isolation. Perhaps it's a profound form of liberty. The most real moments have no witnesses. Think about it. When was the last time you accomplished something and your first thought wasn't about how to announce it? When you saw a beautiful sight, did you simply see it, or did you immediately frame the shot? That instinct to display isn't innate. It's a learned behavior, reinforced by years of notification-driven dopamine. We've been conditioned to believe that visibility equals value. Stepping outside of that system is an act of reclamation. It's a return to doing things for their own sake. Reading a book without logging it. Exploring a new city without a live map. Feeling a deep emotion without having to articulate it to an audience. In that space, a different kind of self emerges. One that doesn't require a crowd to feel alive. Of course, not all silence is born from a place of strength. For some, it's rooted in apprehension. The fear of being misinterpreted or of putting something out into the world only to be met with nothing. This is a modern anxiety, the pressure of knowing you have an audience, even when you're not on stage. That weight is immense. So, some withdraw. Not from a lack of desire for connection, but because the risk of superficial connection feels too great. They long to be known, but only authentically. And it's a strange paradox that often the quietest people online have the most vibrant internal worlds. They are not empty. They are full to the brim. They simply prefer depth over display. There is a philosophical strength in this choice. In a society that screams, "Notice me," choosing to remain unseen is a powerful statement of self-definition. It is a way of saying, my existence is valid beyond your gaze. They scroll through the celebrations and struggles of others, engaging silently. but they hold back their own projections because they grasp a fundamental truth: not every significant experience is meant for an audience. The most transformative parts of life, profound grief, quiet growth, personal revelation, often happen in the shadows. And when you've lived through enough of these private revolutions, you come to a realization. Being unseen is not the same as being unimportant. In fact, it is often the very space where an authentic identity is built, not just advertised. Here lies the central contradiction. Platforms designed for connection can sometimes be the source of deep isolation. When you stop posting, you stop chasing digital proximity and start investing in tangible closeness. You notice who reaches out without a prompt. You learn who remembers you without a digital reminder. That kind of connection is weightier, more substantial, and undeniably real. The people who don't post often reside in this space. They cultivate relationships that don't require public proof. They find solace in the undocumented moment, allowing life to unfold without turning it into a commodity. A part of this is about inner stability. It's knowing who you are when no one is looking. When you are truly comfortable in your own skin, you don't need a following to confirm your worth. That isn't aloofness. It's contentment. And interestingly, the very people who share the least often have the richest stories to tell. But they save them for face-to-face conversations, for moments of real connection that are measured in shared glances and genuine laughter, not in likes or shares. These individuals carry entire universes within them. They process the world with intensity, observe with keen eyes, and understand with a quiet empathy. They don't need the world to validate their existence. They simply need to live it. And maybe, in a culture desperate for visibility, their quiet stance isn't a shortcoming. It's a reflection. A reminder that not everything of meaning needs a public record. That sometimes, the most personal thing you can do is to keep a part of yourself entirely private. What's remarkable is how the world changes when you step back from the feed. Hues seem more vibrant. The passage of time feels less frantic. Interactions become more substantial. It's as if leaving the noise behind allows reality to snap back into focus. When you cease performing, you truly begin to experience. There's an unspoken elegance in moving through your days without needing to document every single step. You aren't considering camera angles or witty remarks. You are simply present, fully immersed in the moment, rather than standing outside of it, framing it. This is a state social media often robs from us. The psychology here is rooted in the mechanics of validation. Every like, every comment, triggers a dopamine release, linking our actions to a reward cycle. We become trained to seek out shareable moments over meaningful ones. Now consider someone who consciously breaks that loop. Someone who decides to step away from the dopamine chase. That isn't a lack of interest. It's a display of remarkable self-control. It requires deep awareness to resist a system engineered for addiction. People who don't post often have a strong internal anchor. Their validation comes from within, not from the external approval of a crowd. They don't need a digital echo to confirm their value. Studies consistently show that individuals who take extended breaks from social media sharing report significant boosts in their emotional well-being and overall satisfaction. Why? Because when your identity isn't constantly being reflected back at you through a filter of public perception, it becomes more solid, more real. You are no longer editing your life into a palatable narrative. You are living it, in all its chaotic, beautiful, unvarnished truth. And perhaps that is the ultimate act of defiance in our fragmented world to remain whole. But let's be clear, a quiet online profile doesn't always mean a quiet mind. Sometimes it conceals a deep wariness. For many, these platforms became a place where they went to find community but instead found depletion. There's a specific emotional toll that comes from constantly viewing everyone's greatest hits while you're struggling through your own ordinary days. You compare without wanting to. You doubt yourself against an impossible standard. And eventually, some people choose to walk away. Not from anger, but from a need for self-protection. They realize they don't owe the world a show. They don't owe an explanation for their stillness. And they certainly don't need to constantly prove they're happy to be believed. This is one of the quiet realizations of our time. We've mistaken visibility for significance. We assume that to be valued, we must be seen. But true meaning doesn't require a spectator. The moments that truly define you will often happen with no one watching. No recordings, no posts, no audience. Just you, living. And maybe that is what those who don't post understand better than anyone. They know that privacy isn't loneliness. It's a deep, intimate conversation with yourself. Because when you stop broadcasting every feeling, you start listening to your own thoughts again.
You reconnect with the parts of you that were drowned out by the noise. Your quiet hopes, your unvoiced anxieties, your inner guide. This is a deeply spiritual practice in the modern age. It's not a retreat from life. It's a return to yourself. Naturally, it isn't always easy. There are pangs of uncertainty, moments where you wonder if your silence makes you irrelevant, if you're being left behind while everyone else is publicly progressing. But with time, you start to sense something beautiful. Your value doesn't vanish when no one is watching. It remains steady and constant, like the deep, resonant quiet after a long noise. And maybe that is what true self-assurance looks like. Not the loud proclamation of self online, but the quiet certainty of self offline. Some joke, pics, or it didn't happen, but the reality is, the things that shape you the most are rarely fit for a feed. Your personal evolution, your private struggles, your quiet triumphs, your unseen kindness, these reside in your memory, not in a media library. And perhaps that is more than enough. Psychologists discuss authentic living as a state of congruence where your inner self and your outward expression are aligned. In the age of digital personas, that alignment is constantly under threat. You can easily become a character polished for public approval. So when someone chooses not to post, it might be their method of maintaining that congruence. It's their way of protecting the fragile truth of who they are inside from the pressure to perform outside. They don't need others to see their joy to know it's real. They don't need to photograph a memory to know it mattered. They live deeply and quietly. And here is the beautiful paradox. Those who live quietly often experience life with the most intensity. They aren't preoccupied with the production of living. They absorb subtleties that others overlook. The shift in a room's atmosphere, the meaning in a hesitation, the texture of a shared silence. They are truly present, and presence is the most valuable asset in an economy of attention. Yet, this very presence can lead to misunderstanding. They might be perceived as aloof, enigmatic, or unapproachable. But if you look more closely, their silence isn't a lack. It's a richness. It's the tranquility that comes from no longer needing to constantly explain yourself to feel understood. There is a powerful confidence in not needing to be known by the masses, only truly understood by a meaningful few. This is the wisdom held by those who don't post. They know that not every truth is for public consumption, that some parts of the soul are meant to remain untouched by trends and algorithms. Because once something's made public, it is no longer purely yours. It becomes subject to interpretation, to judgment, to the whims of the crowd. And some experiences are simply too sacred for that. So the next time you come across someone who never shares, don't presume they are lost. Maybe they are found. Maybe they have discovered a peace in the quiet edges of life, the ones not illuminated by a screen's glow. Maybe they are the ones who have recalled what the rest of us have forgotten in the noise. That being unseen is not the same as being unknown. That being still is not the same as being empty. That sometimes the most powerful statement you can make about who you are is to say nothing at all. Because in the final analysis, we are not here to be performances. We are here to be people. And the people who don't post, they quietly, consistently, remind us of that profound and simple truth. If this reflection resonated with you, please give the video a like and subscribe to Wines of Thought for more explorations into the human experience.